The ghosts of the abandoned Disneyland Hotel. The hallway lights inside the abandoned Disneyland Hotel flickered as Michael held his phone in front of him, the camera shaking in his hand. He could hear his own heartbeat louder than his footsteps. The carpet was torn, the wallpaper peeling, and the once famous Disney murals were now smeared with dust and dark stains that he prayed were only water. But the worst part wasn't the smell or the silence. It was the sound coming from the end of the hallway. Soft footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Not human. Michael raised his phone higher. "Is someone there?" he whispered. Then a shadow stepped into view. It wasn't a person. It wasn't even shaped like one. It stretched long across the wall, bending at angles no body could bend. Its head looked broken, twisted to the side, almost upside down. And then, without warning, the shadow started crawling toward him, fast. Michael gasped and stumbled back, but the lights shut off at once, throwing everything into darkness. He heard the thing breathing right behind him. And then, everything went silent. Now, before we reach what happened next, we must go back to the beginning, to the moment Michael made the worst decision of his life. Michael Harris was a 17-year-old kid from Texas who loved exploring abandoned places for his YouTube channel. He wasn't famous yet, but he believed this trip would change everything. He had heard stories online about strange events inside the old Disneyland Hotel, a place that had once been full of families, fireworks, and music. After years of renovations and fires, parts of it were left empty and unused. Some people said it was haunted by workers who died during construction. Others said guests who passed away in their rooms never left. Michael didn't know what to believe, but he wanted views. And stories about ghosts always brought views. He convinced two of his friends, Jason and Emily, to come with him. They drove from Texas to California in an old truck, laughing most of the way. Jason was loud and daring, always ready to do something stupid for fun. Emily was calm but curious, the type who smiled even when she was scared. They reached Anaheim in the afternoon and parked a few blocks away from the hotel's old wing, the part everyone online said was off-limits. They walked around a broken fence and squeezed through a side door where the glass had long been shattered. Inside, dust floated in the air like snow. The once bright lobby was silent. A piano stood in the corner, its keys yellow. A broken chandelier hung low, one thread away from falling. "It doesn't look that scary," Jason said, kicking an empty soda can. Emily rolled her eyes. "You're going to cry later." Michael recorded everything, explaining to his viewers how the hotel had been left empty after several remodel plans were canceled. "People say workers saw shadows walking the halls," he whispered to the camera. "Some even said they heard voices calling their names." "Creepy," Emily said, hugging her arms. They explored the first floor for an hour. Nothing happened. No ghosts. No shadows. Not even a strange sound. Jason even pretended to be a ghost just to make Emily jump. But things changed when they found the old elevator. It stood in the center of a dark hallway, its metal doors slightly open. A faint light flickered inside, even though the whole building was supposed to have no power. "Guys, that's not normal," Emily whispered. Michael felt a rush of excitement. Perfect for the video. Jason pushed the doors wider, and the elevator let out a long, low groan. Inside, the floor was covered in dust, except for one thing. In the middle of the dust was a single footprint. Small. Bare. Like a child's. Emily stepped back. Nope. I'm not doing this." Michael swallowed. Maybe someone else came in. Jason laughed, but even he looked nervous. The elevator suddenly jerked. Hard. They all jumped. The doors began sliding shut even though no one touched them. Michael grabbed Emily's hand as the elevator lights flickered brighter and brighter, buzzing like angry bees. And then, right before the doors closed completely, a tiny handprint appeared on the inside of the glass. Fresh. Clear. Pressed from the inside. Emily screamed. Jason cursed and stumbled back. And Michael, shaking, whispered, "Did you see that?" Before anyone could move, the elevator began rising on its own, the cables screeching like something was climbing them. The three of them stood frozen in terror as the floor numbers above the door lit up one by one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then the number stopped at 5, and the entire building shook. A loud crash echoed from the 5th floor, like something enormous had just fallen or smashed through a wall. Dust rained from the ceiling. Emily grabbed Michael's arm. "We need to leave now." But before they could run, the hallway lights started flickering wildly, and a low, dragging sound began moving toward them from the far end, growing louder and louder and louder, until it was right behind them. The dragging sound behind them was so close it felt like it was breathing down their necks. Michael turned his head slowly, his heart pounding so hard he thought it might stop. The hallway was shaking, the lights flashing like a warning. But nothing stood there. Just the long, empty hall. Then the dragging sound started again, only louder, coming from everywhere at once, like the hotel itself was crawling toward them. "Run!" Emily shouted. They sprinted down the hallway, slipping on dust and broken pieces of ceiling. Michael kept looking back, even though he didn't want to. Every time the lights flickered, he swore he saw shapes behind him, shadows that bent like broken bones. Jason reached the stairwell first and pulled the door open. "Down! Go down!" They rushed inside, but the door slammed shut behind them so violently that Emily screamed. Jason grabbed the handle and pulled, but it wouldn't budge. It felt locked or held. "We're trapped," he whispered, his voice shaking for the first time. The stairwell was dark except for a small bit of light coming through a cracked window. The air smelled old, like wet carpet, and something rotten. Their footsteps echoed too loudly, like someone, or something, was walking with them. They started down. One floor, then another. At first, nothing strange happened, and the silence almost calmed them. But then they reached the 3rd floor landing. There was a little girl standing there. She wore a white dress covered in dirt, and her hair covered her face. She didn't move. She didn't look up. She just sat on the cold concrete with her legs stretched out, like she had been waiting. Emily gasped and grabbed Michael's arm, so tight her nails dug into his skin. Jason whispered, "Oh my God!" The girl slowly lifted her head. Her eyes were gray and empty, like old glass. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out, only a soft, dry gasp, like she hadn't breathed in years. Then she raised her hand and pointed right at Michael. Michael froze. His whole body went cold. The girl whispered, finally finding her voice, "Don't go down." They all stepped back. Jason shook his head. Nope, we are not doing this." They ran past her. She didn't move, didn't chase, didn't scream. But as they reached the 2nd floor landing, they heard her voice echo behind them, louder this time. "He won't let you leave." Emily stumbled as she ran, nearly falling down the steps. Michael grabbed her and kept going. They pushed their way down to the 1st floor and hurried into the lobby. But something was wrong. The room didn't look like the same one they entered earlier. The furniture had changed. The walls looked older. The paintings on the walls were ripped open, like someone had clawed them. Jason spun around. This isn't the same place." The temperature dropped suddenly. Their breath turned white. A deep hum filled the air, like electricity, but slower, heavier. Then the lights flickered on, and the lobby was full of people. Hundreds of them, except they weren't alive. Some looked burned. Some looked soaked like they had drowned. Some had broken necks or bones bent in ways no human could survive. All of them stared at the 3 kids with empty eyes. Emily covered her mouth, tears rolling down her cheeks. "Michael, they're the guests." Michael didn't know what to say. He felt his body shaking uncontrollably. Jason whispered, "We need to go. Now. Quietly." They moved slowly toward the exit doors. The ghosts didn't move. They just watched. But the closer the kids got to the doors, the colder the room became. The air grew thick, making it hard to breathe. Michael reached the door first. His hand touched the metal bar. A sharp, cold hand grabbed his wrist. He cried out and turned. It was a man dressed like an old Disney hotel worker. His skin was gray, his lips blue, like he had frozen to death. His grip was so strong Michael felt his bones grinding. "You can't leave," the ghost whispered. Jason tried to pull Michael free. Emily grabbed his other arm. They tugged with all their strength. The ghost leaned closer, its face almost touching Michael's. He's awake now. Michael felt the ground shake again. The walls groaned like something huge was moving inside them. The ghosts in the lobby began to rise from their chairs, turning their heads toward the center of the room, all of them staring at the same place. The far wall began to crack. A deep rumble echoed like thunder under their feet. Something massive, something crawling, was pushing through from the other side. Emily screamed, "Run, Michael! Run!" Jason shouted, pulling with everything he had. The hotel worker ghost tightened his grip. The wall exploded inward, and something unbelievably large began to climb out of the darkness, dragging itself into the lobby as all the ghosts turned toward it. And that was the moment the hotel finally revealed what had really been haunting it.